Hello, Everything Embroidery Market. I'm Christina, and we have Hope and Aaron with us today. We're so excited to chat with you again. Thanks for coming on.
Yes,
Um,
thanks for having me.
yeah, so if you guys don't know who Aaron is, Aaron's amazing. um,
Wow, thank you.
yeah, so he's with our success group, and you've been an instructor at I guess the last several
Must too.
shows. Yeah,
Yep,
the
yep.
last few shows. Um, Tell everyone just real quick before we jump into what you will be doing at Everything Embroidery Market March. March 3rd through 5th.
Yeah.
I'm getting ahead of myself, guys. Okay,
That's okay.
pause, pump the brakes. Okay, so before we jump into that, I want to tell you when our next show is. So we're going to be going to Lafayette, Louisiana, March 3rd through 5th, and we're going to have an awesome time. Aaron is one of our amazing vendors and instructors. He's actually teaching quite a few classes, which we'll jump into here in a bit. But Aaron, tell us, who are you? What is our success group?
Yeah, so Aaron Montgomery, I'm excited too. So I was ready to jump ahead with you, but because this is really cool. Yeah, so our success group started back in January of 2020 as a way to just empower business owners to achieve their idea of success. I've been around the garment decorating, whatever decorators community, whatever you want to call it, the product personalization space since. Yeah, 2000. So it makes me feel a little bit old. But so I started in a with a company called U.S. Screen Printing Institute back in 2000, and just fell in love with it. And kind of joke nowadays that the industry is kind of like Hotel California. You know, you can never leave. So, but for a reason, the people are just amazing, and so I've been able to be involved in the industry. I've traveled to thousands of trade shows over the years. I've worked with small business owners. Honestly, since I was a kid, my dad was a CPA, and his specialty was small business owners, and so it just has been kind of my passion throughout my life to get to work with small business owners. And when I had an opportunity to start this business foundation, business coaching company, it just is. I knew I had to do it, and so here we are, 3 years later almost, and it's been wonderful getting to work with small business owners just to see them grow. You know, some of the stories, some of the things that we've heard from some of our members, just brings a deep level. The lady made me cry a couple weeks ago, so so that kind of thing. So that's what I do, and the fact that I get to come and share some of this with your guys' audience has been wonderful. Just it's so cool to watch people find what it is that they want to do, and take that passion that they already have for decorating, for the making, and for that stuff, and then turn it into something where they can make money and they can live on their own terms, and they can either have the side hustle to go on more vacations, or they can make it a full-time job, and we've seen it all, so it's pretty cool.
Yes. Well, and that's why I feel like you're a perfect fit for what you're doing for EEM. So everything embroidery market, that's our goal, right?
Yeah,
Is to
yeah.
bring the different aspects of the garment decorating industry together in one place. We want to have industry experts across the board bringing you guys top-notch knowledge, and then also providing a shopping space where you can actually touch, feel, see the product in person, which that went away a little bit in 2020.
Yeah.
I think it's starting to come back, and we're excited to be able to provide that for you. And like you said, you've been in the industry for a long time. You've kind of seen some ups and downs. You've
Mhm.
seen trends. You've networked, kind of, you just have a lot of background knowledge that you're
Yeah.
able to just bring to the community.
Yeah.
In a way that's actionable steps. So we have a lot of classes to dig into. So I think we
Yes.
should
We
start there,
do. We
because
do.
I'm a talker. We know this, and we'll get
Me
off
too. So
track
poor
if I
Hope doesn't get to say a thing.
I mean, I'm a talker too. That's the thing. It's hard on me. I'm like, "Bleh, bleh."
sorry,
Love it.
that's my fault. Okay, let's start with class one. So starting on Saturday,
Yes.
you will be coming in. Where are we? Your first class
Is
is the
key to
keys.
starting a decorating business
Yes.
Yep.
at
So what is
11:30.
that class? Yep.
Yeah. This kind of goes back to what you were just talking about before, right? Where when I first got a chance to talk to you guys and you guys were telling me what you're trying to do with EEM, I was like, oh my gosh, this is exactly it. This is what we're trying to do. And so this first seminar is that, right? Where do we start? It's one thing to have that passion for being in business and being, I'm sorry, not being in business, being creative and doing that kind of thing. But it takes a totally different mindset to be able to really kind of turn that into a business and again, reach whatever your idea of success is. But that's going to take a little bit of work. It's going to take a little bit of counterintuitive thinking to the way that things normally are, right? You know, many people maybe have a day job and it's a totally different mentality than, you know, clocking in and clocking out. You know, you're going to live your business, but the way I want to help people set it up is in such a way that you're living your business with a lot of, you know, you're in control of it, right? You didn't just create an extra job that pays you zero money and you work, you know, every hour of every day, right? We want to actually have control over our business. So we want to create something that we enjoy, and that takes starting from a foundational place. And so that's what it really is kind of talking about, okay, here's the things that you need to think about. Here's what you got to make sure that you're really clear on before you go too far in this, because otherwise you're just going to be kind of throwing things against the wall to see what sticks. And we've got to have some guide and direction. And so we start there, and then I want to then share just some nuts and bolts things too. Like, you know, how do we go find good vendors? How do we make sure that we're dealing with the right customers, right? Just where do we start? And so that's kind of where I'm so glad that I get to do that one first, because it really is kind of the foundational piece. And once you have that, and honestly, if you're kind of following along in that class, you're going and just kind of taking some notes, you're really going to have the structure of your business plan by the time you walk out of there. So,
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and I love that you said that you're starting with that class. I just mentioned that you're teaching a whole bunch, but you were very intentional on what was taught first, second, third, in order to provide just a start to finish plan. So you can just drop in any one of those classes.
Sure.
But if you join Aaron starting at his first class and follow him all the way along till the end of the event, you're really going to leave with just a whole new business perspective.
Comprehensive
Right.
plan.
And mindset shift, hopefully by the end
Yeah.
of it. And
Yeah.
then one good thing that Aaron also provides, obviously with his business, is follow-up support when you join him after the event.
Yeah.
So I think
Yeah.
that's really cool.
I love it when you and I, when we were talking about this, right, it was really kind of about that. I know there's some fantastic educators and a lot of business people in there too. So I'm not the only one, but I'm kind of coming from a different place. I don't have a product, you know, I'm not selling you a printer. I don't have blanks that I'm going to sell you or any, you know, anything like that. What my job is as our company, it really is to help people build that business foundation. So I felt like we needed to have kind of a better path. And like you said, you can pop in and you're going to take plenty away from that. But if you have an opportunity, you know, if it doesn't compete with your favorite educators, then I'd love to have you through all of them, and you can kind of see the progression of them. And we'll talk about more of that here as we go.
Yeah. I really think it's important. If you're someone who's brand new, I want to start a business, I think you're going to find a whole lot of value starting from the beginning. We have a lot of people that already have a business, and it may be easier for them to, you know, take one here or there and do the other things. But I'm really excited about this because I know every show we're intentional about what we do, but I feel like this one tried to set it up a little bit more, learning from past events. So.
Yeah. Well, I had an opportunity to learn about your community, you know, since the first two were my first two getting to be along with you guys, and you guys trusted me to share what I know with your community. It was like, okay, after talking to some of those attendees, it was like, yep, now this makes sense. Okay, let's get this in order. So yeah, that's really awesome that you guys are willing to do that.
Yes. Okay, so class two. Unlocking your full potential.
Yes. So this class is actually one of my favorites, and because of the fact that what I learned when our success group was started, when we started our success group back in 2000, I really thought it was going to be a lot about, hey, let's help people figure out how to do the Facebook ads, the marketing, the things, the nuts and bolts. And very quickly, I realized that it wasn't necessarily that, right? That information is out there and really readily available. But if you're just trying to chase down everything and try everything, there's not enough time in the day. And what I discovered was most small business owners actually have all of the nuts and bolts information that they need. They just don't have the right mindset. And that really is the belief in themselves. And so that's why it's unlocking your full potential, because every single one of us has some form of limiting belief that was quote unquote installed in us, maybe even back to when we were kids, right? And these weren't, always traumatic things. It's just kind of the way, our perception of reality is our perception of reality. And so we've all got these different limiting beliefs. So this one's going to be a little different than maybe some other seminars. We are going to do a guided meditation in there. We're going to have some time to kind of dig into what's maybe holding us back, right? And we might think it's this thing, but that's just what's in front of you right now. What's really holding you back is something that is kind of been installing you, and it's that limiting belief. So we'll walk through that, and like I said, it'll be a little bit of a guided meditation. In fact, I think in the description I wrote, if you think this is too woo-woo, this is probably for you. Because because I was that person for a long time that I was like, oh, guided meditation, digging into my past and right, all that stuff. I was like, oh, that's just silly. Well, I wasted 3-4 years of my life thinking that way, yet I was spending all this time and money on everything, trying to figure out what would stick and what I wanted to be when I grow up, almost 50 years old, and I just still didn't know what I was going to do. And so when I finally gave myself that opportunity to say, you know what if I came into this with the mindset of, what if it does work? As opposed to, this isn't going to work. This is silly, right? Why am I going to sit through a guided meditation? Or why am I going to, write down about my past, right? Or something along those lines, right? And so when I was finally able to do that and let go, oh my God, it opened up so many things, and I felt like I had unlocked my full potential. And so that's the hope with this one. There will be, nuts and bolts things that you can do. So it's not all woo-woo way out there, but at the same time, we need a little bit of that. We need to kind of be able to come back and understand that we have everything that we need. You guys are amazing and have every ability to be as successful as you want to be. You just have to choose to let go of some of those limiting beliefs.
Yeah.
And Kylene said, mindset is so important to the success of your business.
Yes. Yes, it is. Yeah, Kylene is my wife, and she's helped me kind of build that whole program together. She's the empathetic side of our our little team there, which really helps me understand, what is it? Because I like to solve the problems. I like to dig into what's right out in front of us, but a lot of times you're realizing that it doesn't matter how hard you work at the front end of that if you can't fix the back end. And like I said, just believe in yourself is what it ultimately comes down to, right? What stories are you telling? Yeah, go ahead.
You think you can and you think you can't. You're both right. So you have to figure out, you can get in the right mindset and move forward. And I've seen that for me, why is this failing? Why is this failing? Well, I have a negative belief going on. And when you switch it, it changes. So.
Exactly.
Yeah, I love it.
Absolutely.
Okay, so class 3 for day 1 for you. I guess day 2 for the show. Yes.
Yeah, Saturday.
So finding your customer and standing out in a crowd.
Yes. Yes. This one is now we get back to, okay, we're beyond our limiting beliefs. We're ready. But now we've got to look outside, right? And when I ask new business owners, who is your ideal customer? Typically the answer is anybody that has money, right? If they have money in their wallet, they're my customer. And I'm like, okay, you're right. You definitely want, but I know way too many business owners that are so incredibly busy that they can't keep up, and yet they're failing, right? They don't have time for their family. They're not making any money. They're not paying themselves. They're scratching and clawing from one to the next. They're having to, and then they're complaining about the new competition coming in, these new business owners that we're talking to right now. And the reality is there is an abundance of things out there in the world, and you get to choose what that is. It's either an abundance of customers that you want to work with, or an abundance of problems and challenges, right? So your choice. And so that's what we're going to dig into is how do we find out who the right customers are for us? Because once you understand that, then everything else becomes so much easier. The language that you use in your marketing message, the way that you go attract them, what social media channel you should be on. Just because I like to dance on TikTok doesn't mean that's where my customers are going to be. And so I could follow every TikTok guru out there and learn every, my son's trying to teach me the gritty right now.
Can you show us?
No, I cannot.
He said no.
He's just started, Hope. I did promise somebody that I would do that at some point. So I'll make sure you guys are in on that.
Okay,
but
Maybe
anyways.
at
At EEM. There we go. That's an agreement. Oh boy. All right. Is there going to be any
practicing?
Is there going to be any cocktail parties at EEM?
Yeah, there's one Friday night.
Well, that could be it. All right. But anyways, so point being is I can go figure out all that stuff, but if those aren't my customers, if those aren't the customers that make me happy, and then I'm not going to be successful, right? And so it is about narrowing it down. And the way I talk about it is I want you to narrow it down to like, I'm talking with one person. So, let's just say Hope was my ideal customer. Well, having a conversation with Hope about how I can help and support her is way easier than having a conversation with anybody and trying to hit all of the points. But what happens is when I'm having that conversation with Hope, then other people that are like Hope are attracted to that. And they go, oh, I want to learn more about what Erin's doing. Right. And so the same thing can be said about the products that we put out there. Right. I could have the coolest and most amazing product in the world as far as I'm concerned. But if my customers don't think so, then I've just wasted a whole bunch of time and money trying to advertise that. So that's kind of what it really boils down to, is getting into a niche to a point where you're almost having a conversation with one person, and then that opens up everything else. So in fact, I've got a little quick story about that. If I've got a couple more minutes here, I'll try to be quick. Okay. Yeah. So there's a friend of mine. He owns a company called Printed Threads out in Fort Worth, Texas. And he is a band guy. Like if you looked up band guy in the dictionary, I'm pretty sure his picture's right there. I mean, you look at him, he's a band guy, and he really is. Actually was a pretty great musician before he got into screen printing. And so what his deal was is he wanted to be able to provide merch, shirts, and things like that for bands that weren't the big bands out there, for the little guys. So shorter run, so they could afford it, but yet still have the same cool swag that the big bands, the well-known artists had. And he set his focus on that, and that's what he did. He just wanted to become the very best at that in his space, which was the band people in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And focus. A few years later, he's so focused on that the Dallas Mavericks, a professional basketball team, they were looking to switch things up a little bit. They wanted to have a little bit more of a rock and roll feel to some of their stuff. And somebody told the marketing people there at the Mavericks that Brett is the guy. If you want that rock and roll feel, you're going to get it from Brett. And lo and behold, they get work from the Dallas Mavericks. They did a great job. And to this day, they still print for the Dallas Mavericks. And they created this. But it had everything to do with the fact that he became the very best in his space. And he was focused on having that conversation with one person and then creating his business around that. And that blew up into a very successful screen printing operation there in Dallas-Fort Worth. So that's kind of the idea behind it.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Well, and it's very true. I mean, I do that. Like I find a product or a company that I love, and I can't help but tell someone. I may not be like shouting it to the rooftops on Facebook, but if it comes up in a conversation, you need to try this. I mean, Hope and I do this. You need to try this recipe, or you need to read this book, or you need to do this because I was so satisfied. I know you will be too. Yeah. And so you want to be that that person or that business that
Yep.
fills that need. So.
Yes, totally.
It is storming like crazy here.
Oh boy.
Like get cut off or something. I mean, it is coming down.
All
Yeah.
right.
It is here too. So we're gonna keep going because I know either a kid's gonna come in or we'll lose power. So
All right.
okay, so that's it for Saturday, but we have a whole day full of awesome things that you're bringing on Sunday, starting with the vendor panel. Now, the vendor panel is a little different because it's not just you. If you guys don't know what our vendor panel is, we've done it the last 3 shows, and it's really a unique opportunity to get the perspective of different industry experts across the different fields. So you're going to be our business guru in the group. We're going to have Lisa Shaw, and we're going to have, so she's our digitizing software expert. We'll have someone, Richard from sewingmachine.com. He's going to be our equipment expert. And we'll have Stephanie with Caesar, so our vinyl expert. And then who else do we have?
Is it Nikki?
Nikki's going to be there, sublimation expert. And you guys, it's so much fun because the audience leads the discussion. You guys ask questions, and then we get the perspective of each instructor, vendor up at the top, and that leads to another question and another question and another question. And I feel like the energy in that class is so fun, but you leave being like, you learned what you wanted to learn because you asked the question, right?
Yes.
And it's awesome to hear different people in the industry answer it completely different. So I enjoy that class, and you've been a part of that the last few times, and it's been awesome. I'd love to hear your perspective on it as well.
No, everything that you just said there is totally true. And it, picking my favorite class is kind of like picking your favorite child. So I'm not going to do that. But this one, it does have this really kind of unique feel to it because of, like you just said, it's led by what the audience wants to know, what the people there. And heck, I remember in Myrtle Beach, some of the audience was even participating in the answers and sharing their ideas. And then, because that's what really happens, right? So I may be supposedly there as the business expert, but you got somebody like Nikki or Lisa or Stephanie or Richard, and they all have great experiences too. And so what ends up happening is one person will answer, and that'll spark some creativity in one of the other ones. And then we'll kind of daisy chain off of that. And by the end of the class, we've solved all the world's problems, and it's it's really incredible. Like I said, and with the participation from the audience too, it's kind of like the sum of the parts is greater than each individual, and because of that ability to kind of work off of each other like that.
Right.
And going into the class without having like an actual like theme of the class or subject, like it's vendor panel. So it is completely controlled by what people ask. And I think that's fun because you go in there and you have these experts, then you're not really sure what you're going to hear. You might have your questions, ready to ask, but you don't even know where it's going to take you because someone else's question or answer might bring up another question you didn't even know you had. I think I love it. I think it's so fun to be in there.
Well, and I think it's great too, because I wish it could be an all-day thing, honestly, because I think we could keep it going that long. But I feel like you leave that class feeling like you can approach these people now. You've had a little networking time beforehand because we open it up a little bit earlier, about 30 minutes early or earlier. You can come have some coffee, some little breakfast treats or whatever. Listen to the entire thing, network with the people in the class. If you come up with a question or something that you didn't have the chance to answer, you can then take that to their booth or, reach out to them. However, but they're there. They are there ready to answer your questions. And most of the time they're just as fired up as you because they had fun in that class and they want to continue that relationship with you. So I like them.
I will say that every single one of those people that you mentioned that are on that vendor panel, I am fortunate enough to know somewhat personally. And the thing that I love about each and every one of them is what you just said, right? They are there to help and support people, and we get as much out of that conversation as the people asking the questions too. So I'm glad that you guys said that. It makes it more approachable. I I want to be approachable, and I know the other people are very approachable, right? I mean, just having a conversation with Stephanie from Caesar, for example, she's incredible. Lisa's the same way, and Nikki and Richard, and so yeah, really cool. I'm always excited about that one.
Right. And we have over 100 years combined experience, so these people know what they're talking about, and they continue to stay in the industry because they love it. So, and they want to share it with you. So
I bet you could add it up at well above 100.
I know it's more. That's what we should do. How long have you been? How long have you been? And actually get an exact number.
Yeah.
We can. Unfortunately, I bring a 23-year mark to start us off. It makes me feel really old. So
not at all. It's a good thing. It's an awesome thing.
Oh, absolutely. I wouldn't trade it for the world. So.
Okay. So our next one with you is going to be, it's time to take action. What is this one about?
Yes. Now we're getting into it. Now's where it's kind of becomes kind of the second step for what I do with our success group is we then have to get some accountability. And that accountability is in the actions that you take. My mentor, Jack Canfield, who's the author of Chicken Soup for the Soul, he says that everything we want is right outside of our comfort zone. But the only way we can get outside of our comfort zone is to take action, right? We can't expand our comfort zone. By expanding our comfort zone, we gain self-confidence. And the only way to gain self-confidence is by surviving a risk, by taking an action. And so that's what this is all about. It's how do we take action, maybe in the face of fear, right? Maybe the action you need to take is, I got to get on and come talk to Hope and Christina to do a live video together, right? Maybe that's the action that you need to do to share your company more, or to share what you're trying to do more. And I get it. That can be a scary thing. And so how do we overcome those fears? And there are some very specific tactics, because our mind is such an interesting tool, right? And we think that we have complete control over our mind, but there's this 800-pound gorilla inside of us that is the subconscious. It's the I freak out when this happens, or what that thing inside of us. And our relationship with that subconscious is so important to be able to overcome fear, right? It has to be teamwork. And so what we get into in this class is, what are those steps? How can we overcome that? And then how do we now also take that action and turn it into something that is intentional action, right? It's one thing to just go out and do a whole bunch of busy work. That's not going to get you anywhere. But to go out and do things and then get feedback on those things and say, okay, if this didn't work, failure, this whole idea of failure, not true. Fail is just an acronym for first attempt in learning. And so what we talk about in this class is, how do we set ourselves up to then get the feedback, use that feedback, and keep asking, keep moving forward. So because I've learned in working with small businesses throughout my career here that I can tell how successful they're going to be, how quickly, by the actions that they're taking, right? By how much they're willing to get outside of their comfort zone, by how much they're putting themselves out there and things like that. And for everybody, that's a little bit different. But if you can, I get a sense of how uncomfortable it is for people to do certain things. And the higher that is, the more I'm like, yep, they're gonna get there, right? But the other people that are just, always consuming, always like, oh, I'm learning everything. Okay, cool. Well, you got to put that into action now. So you'll leave this class with this plan of, how am I going to take action every day that will get me closer to my idea of success?
Right. I mean, I think that's.
Sandy said she's trying to get comfortable being outside of her comfort zone.
Yes, Sandy is definitely doing that, and So I know Sandy, so she's actually an our success group member, and awesome. Really pushing herself, and she's also a full-time nurse and running her business very successfully. So yes, somebody that you can emulate right there.
I love that you said willingness to try something new,
Yeah.
because you can't just like you can consume and consume and consume,
Yeah.
but if you don't take even just a small step forward, you're not getting your business anywhere really.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
in your head. So
Correct. Yeah.
I think that's going to be a really awesome class, and I know people are going to walk away being like, okay, I think that's going to be a fired up class too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
We'll challenge people, right? We're going to say, hey, what are you going to do, right? And they're going to leave that class with, if you come into that class and you're willing to play full out, you're going to leave with, okay, I'm going to take some action, right? And honestly, I will leave people with a way that if they share what they're going to do with me, they will have an accountability partner. I will follow up with them, and we will make sure that it gets done.
Yeah, I mean, and that sometimes is what people need, because
Yep.
just like New Year's resolutions, if you keep it in
Yeah.
your head, it never happens. But if you tell someone and either you do it together or someone that will follow up, like,
Yep.
okay, well, I guess I have to now. I said I
Yeah.
was going to. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Accountability.
Accountability is huge. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So the last class that we have for you is going to be pricing for profit. And you've taught this class before, and I know it's a good one. So what will people be learning in there?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think the number one thing is just I think people hear the word profit, and for some reason it has this kind of negative connotation. And profit's not a dirty word. Profit is what a company needs. It's the lifeblood of a company. And without profit, you can't, go do good things. You can't achieve your idea of success. You can't support your family. And so we really need to start associating profit with the positive side of what profit really means. If your customers are upset that you make a profit, then they're not the right customers for you. So this class really is about how do we set up our pricing strategy in such a way that we're actually pricing for profit. And, unfortunately, when people are new, pricing's tough. We poll everybody that kind of comes through the Our Success Group community world, right? One of the questions we ask when people sign up for our email lists or whatever is, what's the biggest challenge in your business? And about 85% of those is some sort of challenge around pricing. And because it's hard, right? We don't want to leave money on the table, right? So we don't want to price too low, but at the same time, we don't want to price ourselves out of the market, and we don't want to feel like greedy and all that other stuff. So finding a pricing strategy that's going to be right for your business comes back to a lot of counterintuitive thinking. And most people's strategy right now is, I'm going to go to the Facebook group and I'm going to ask, what should I charge for this? Right? Or the manufacturer's suggested retail price, right? But the reality is, you can sell a white t-shirt for $5. You can go buy one of those at Walmart for $5, or you can go, get a Yeezy white t-shirt, which is the exact same thing, for $300. So, or what, there's all those crazy things out there. So there is a market for that, right? So I get people that tell me all the time, well, nobody in my area, my town, right? I live in this small town and nobody will pay what I need to make in my area. And my answer has always been, so you're telling me that nobody in your town has a pair of Nike shoes or a designer handbag or something along those lines? Because if it was a price thing that they just couldn't afford it, then nobody would go buy those other things. There are cheaper options to those things available. So it's basically the perceived value that you're creating for your customer isn't right. So you either need to find a different customer or change the way that you talk about your products. So pricing is very psychological. There's a lot of things that go on in our brains that this goes back to, we think we have control over it, but the reality is, it's why everything you see out there is 99 cents. If we stop and think about it, we can understand that $3.99 is actually $4. But if we just look at it, that's $3.
It's only $3. Right? Yeah.
It's only $3. So,
well, and that's why we know this is a great class. You said 85% of the people you poll have a problem with this. That means you're not alone.
Correct.
That means you're putting yourself ahead of the pack by trying to make a plan to do better.
Correct.
And you're putting yourself ahead of the pack because that means, like, everyone else is struggling. Everyone, not everyone, but everyone,
Yeah.
everyone's struggling. And maybe that other percentage is just not admitting that they're having trouble with it.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with yes.
Well, it absolutely is true. And the fact that, heck, even just coming to EEM is going to put you ahead of the pack when you really think about it. I mean, just networking and being around all these amazing people. And then just, again, from the previous seminar, I can tell you how successful you're going to be by the actions that you're willing to take. Right? And so when we think about that, this pricing right here, just coming and thinking about pricing in a different manner than, what should I charge for this, or some magic bullet formula that makes actually no sense for my business, but just because some guru said you should do it this way, and people just unfortunately get themselves into that. They get stuck in that hole, and then it ends up becoming a price game, right? I have to be cheaper than the guy up the street, but there is always somebody willing to do it cheaper. And once you've made it about price, now you've made it a commodity item, meaning there's no reason for me to stand out. So unless I have super deep pockets, then good luck staying in business very long.
Well, and that's why we said take all these classes, because if you know your customer and you're marketing to your customer, they're going to pay what you need.
Exactly.
And you know what you need because you started from the beginning. You know all your costs. You know how much you need to make to be able to be happy. You've shifted your mindset. You're taking those actionable steps, and now you have a successful business that's growing, and you're attracting more and more of those customers. And it's a cycle.
Yep.
You do have to take those actionable steps, but you can't just take one either. You have to start from the beginning and work your way through. So.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a lot of information, but it's awesome information. And I know just from talking to other people that have been to your classes, they do leave fired up. They leave excited. And that's my whole hope for our event is for everyone to walk away from EEM more excited than they were when they got there. Yep. Whether it's because it's the education, or they got to meet, they fangirled over that one vendor or instructor, or they got this the newest or the most, something that they've been wanting to touch or feel. Maybe it's a machine, maybe it's some blanks, maybe it's vinyl that they haven't seen before in person, but they're more excited to continue in this industry than they were when they got there. So and I know that your classes are going to do that for a ton of people. If you're there for business, you need to sign up for some of Erin's classes.
Well, and the beauty of going to any of Erin's classes is that after, if you need, you can join him at our success group and continue to get the help you need, because maybe, you got the first 2 steps and then you need help with the third, or, you need to have, talk about some ideas you have. You can do that. Yeah. And I think that's amazing, because you do get a lot of information while you're there, but then knowing that after, you can come back and
well, right. And Hope and I have talked about this a lot. I have all these ideas that go in my mind all the time. Like, I can't stop it. But sometimes I just need a sounding board, right? I just need someone to talk it through. And even just that conversation, once you join Erin in our success group, you have that sounding board that from someone who's in the industry, but someone who also genuinely just wants you to succeed. Right. Because sometimes you're talking to people that may not have that best interest at heart. So anyway, I'm excited about it. Yes. Well, before you come to the event, I do want you also go to Erin's website, go to our success group, check out what he has to offer, come to the event and to the classes with specific questions in mind. We want you to gain as much knowledge as you can. So be prepared when you show up. Like you said, you're setting yourself up apart from the pack just by coming. Yep. So walk away with as much knowledge that connects you to your business and everything before you
Yeah.
get there. Start from the beginning. So
Yeah.
I'm excited.
Yeah. I love it. I love it. Well, and coming from you guys too, right? I mean, that's what I love about this, right? Again, this is that kind of daisy chaining. You guys have created successful businesses. You understand this. And like I said, sometimes you got to kind of regroup, start from you got ideas. But that is my favorite part about business or just kind of success in general is that it really is a cycle. Let's just come and break down the fundamentals. Then we'll create a little bit of a plan, and then we're going to take action, and then we're going to get feedback from that action, and then we'll start back over again and just keep growing. And it's kind of like the way a tree might grow, right? You've got to put the seeds in the ground first, and then maybe it grows but it doesn't grow exactly the way you want it. Okay, well, we got to trim off a few things and get a little bit more fertilizer down in there or whatever, and then just every year it's going to grow a little bit more. And honestly, that's what I love about what you guys are doing with EEM is that you guys are in that same mindset of we just want people to succeed. There's this mentality of if everybody's happy, right, and whatever you're coming there for, then there's something there for everybody. I mean, honestly, some of the times when I think about all the classes and then I looked at some of the other things going on, I'm like, darn it, can I just do a video and run across the way or no, but there's so many cool people there and I love meeting all of them. So.
Yeah. Well, and I also, while you were talking just now, I feel like maybe we've been talking specifically about that new business, but I don't think that your classes are just for new businesses.
No.
You can have an established business, something that's 20 years, and still learn something new and change something and tweak something.
Correct.
And let's face it, this is life, right? Sometimes there's burnout. Sometimes life happens and you need to just get back on track. So I think that these classes will be great for that as well.
Yeah.
So.
And new businesses, like you said, it definitely gives them all that they need. But a lot of times in new businesses, it does feel a little bit like drinking water through a fire hose. That, we've got 5 classes that cover a lot of ground here. And so some of the established businesses, they might be able to slip into some of these things that might feel a little bit more comfortable. So, even honestly, even if you've been to these classes in the past or seen us in the past, I actually just had an opportunity to do a workshop that we ran with one of the folks that I met out in Chattanooga. And it was, again, it's just meeting those people and I'm like, oh, Lynn, I totally remember you. So great to see you again. How the heck are you? What's been happening since then? And it is really that opportunity to just get back in the cycle. Let's just keep it going, keep the momentum building.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that's what we want. We want everyone to be successful and be excited.
Yeah.
So if that's you, if you're in the garment decorating industry and you want to join us, or if you're even just thinking about it, head over to our website, go to eemshows.com. Check out all the classes that we have available. There's over 50. Check out all of our vendors. Figure out those questions that you want to ask. Sign up and join us March 3rd through 5th in Lafayette, Louisiana. You're not going to regret it. I mean, it's an awesome event. Invest in your business, invest in your hobby. If it's a hobby, there's a ton of classes there for the hobbyist as well. So come on over,
this is also the only in-person opportunity this year. So if you're on the fence thinking maybe you'd come to a fall show, this is the only one in person this year. So
come on. Sign up.
Don't miss it. Yeah. No, there's zero reasons to not come. It doesn't matter where you're at. Like I said, that's been what I've loved about getting to know you guys is there really is something for everybody. And just because I like to talk about business, I love watching people have that passion and the stuff happening on the show floor and just getting to hang out and see people learning new things. And like you said, talking to people, heck, I remember that somebody that was in my class, and I think this was in Myrtle Beach, but I can't remember exactly. Could have been Chattanooga. I remember I was kind of walking into the hall area and was talking to them, kind of following up to the class. And then somebody else that they had met that was just another attendee there came up, and then they started talking, and 3 of us are talking. And next thing you know, we're not talking business at all. We're just talking about life and the work, making things happen and, getting over challenges and stuff like that. So there's everything. It's really cool.
Yeah. I mean, life's better with people. That's what it's about. Connect, learn, grow, have fun. engage, and join us.
There you go.
So go over to EEM, EEMshows.com, and we'll see you in Lafayette, Louisiana, March 3rd through 5th.
Yep. No excuses. We'll see you there.
That's right. See you there.
All right. Bye,
Bye.
everyone.